to a show.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats podcast. And I'm coming in with a smooth, calm voice today because I have a returning guest. It's like she's trying to break a record for most appearances within a 3 or 4 month window here. But I want to welcome back to the podcast social media lightning rod and jiu-jitsu white belt badass, Miss Robyn Henderson. What's up, Robyn? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good today, Dante. Happy to be back. Happy to break records, shatter any sort of previous accomplishments anyone's ever had on this podcast. Just grateful, you know?
Well, good. Glad to have you back. It's like every time we have an episode, something comes up. Like in my mind, as we're talking, it's like, "Ooh, we can make that another episode down the line." And it's like, "All right, let's go ahead and like record it." And then the next one's like, "Ooh, there's another one. All right, let's go ahead and record it." This one, actually, and I've seen you mention in the past on social media about your sobriety.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, I wonder if she'd be comfortable talking about it," because for some folks, even though you might mention it, it's still kind of a personal thing that people is like, I don't really want to go into that realm, podcasts, specifically. So you had put up a post a couple weeks back, and I was like, okay, I just got to ask because I feel like there's a lot to be gained for listeners out there, and I'm also just curious as well. I'm a collector of lives, if you will. So I'm here to
Yeah.
collect. So
I'm not shy at all about sharing this. It's like if I can help somebody else through my experience, then I'm going to absolutely do that. So,
well, thank you. We appreciate that. So for the listeners who may not know this part of your story, how do you describe where you are now in your life as far as your sobriety and everything? Like, how long have you been sober?
my husband and I just celebrated 10 years clean and sober in August. So we got sober in 2015.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. And when you think back to that period in your life, like, what stood out most, like, about you? Like, how did you feel like during life before sobriety, I guess?
I think the point was that I wasn't feeling anything. I was doing everything I could to feel numb, and I did a pretty good job at that. So, I mean, there's circumstances that led up to why I wanted to numb myself. If this was early sobriety, I would go on and tell you all the things that happened to me, right? That made me drink. But after doing a 12-step program and following it religiously for 10 years, I can tell you that I've always been an addict. It was just extenuating circumstances that made it worse. And I lacked the discipline and the tools to deal with life on life's terms. So I used drugs and alcohol to mask things that I didn't want to feel or I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that I don't really hear
Yeah.
from folks. Like, I have friends, and I've actually gone to AA for a while myself. You don't really hear folks kind of address that, like, there was a catalyst that kind of led you there to numb yourself. So
Right.
just hearing that, it's like, huh, like, you were aware.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to be aware, and alcoholics and addicts, we love to play the victim. we love to blame other people for our problems. It's part of our disease. And, you know, a lot of people can't stay sober because they can't just like own up to their shit. You know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of people, I'm AA sober. So I've seen a lot of people over the years come in and out, and they'll come for a little bit and they're not actively working this program. Um, and I can see them dwindle, and I kind of like my husband and I know when they're gonna leave. You know what I mean? Like we can tell. Because when you first get sober, you actually have to feel all the things that you've been repressing for however long you started drinking. So, like, I started drinking when I was 16, I got sober when I was 25. So, 9 years of like suppressing feelings. The second you stop drinking, you're put right back into the place that you were when you started, right? So, like, I'm back into my 16-year-old emotional self, and I had to like relive all the things that I had pushed down and face them. And it was really hard. And in the first 2 years, I desperately wanted to drink and use, but I was so scared because of the event that took place to actually get me sober. Like, my rock bottom was so scary for me that I didn't want to be there. I would rather deal with the feelings that I was feeling than be back to that place. And we can get into the details of that if you want to, but I almost lost my son. My son was almost taken from me because of the decisions that I was making, you know? And I'd never had any consequences for any of my behaviors. I've been pulled over. I lived in a small town, right? And my father a he was well known by the police. He owned a security company. So my last name was kind of well known. I remember getting pulled over once, and I was like 17 maybe. I had a case of beer in my back seat, and I had a bong in the front seat, like loaded bong. And they took one look at my license. They made me get out of the car. They made me dump all the beer on the grass. They threw my bong into the woods, and then they followed me home. So, like, maybe if I had gotten arrested that day, I might have because I was really scared of getting in trouble, like really scared.
Mm.
So like, and that happened multiple times where like I had a lot of close calls and I never really had any consequences for it. I also had like enabling parents too.
Mm.
Um, like if I moved out when I was younger, moved out when I was 17 because I thought that I could, I don't know, live on my own. Uh, and I would spend all my money on drugs and alcohol, and then I'd call my dad because I couldn't pay my electric bill. And instead of him saying, "Hey, you need to figure your shit out," he was like, "Okay, just send me the bill." You know what I mean? So like, I never had a hard reality hit until that rock bottom day when I actually had the first consequence, and it was a big one. So some people need a big rock bottom. Some people need a big awakening, and some people almost die and then they go back. You know what I mean? Like, some people will just keep going and keep going and keep going, and this disease is fucking crazy. And I'm not safe now. Yeah, 10 years, but I'm not safe. Like, I still think about it.
Sure.
This is like ingrained. So it's scary.
Yeah. When I was, I had to take a drug and alcohol course after I got in a DUI, and they, let us know, hey, when you come in here, random, breathalyzers, you're getting
Yeah.
tested. So it could be any one of you, could be it was every Saturday. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I could still drink throughout the week. I just
Right.
can't drink Thursday, Friday, come in Saturday and I'm good. And, but for me, at that time, I was going through a really, uh, just tough time. and then getting pulled over and getting arrested was like, okay, well, let's
Yeah.
fix our lives. But in that Saturday class, I guess there's a guy that was in there. I think he had said like, "Look, this is my fourth DUI."
Mm.
I was like, "Geez, Louise, dude! Like, I don't know, this is my like first," and I felt like that was enough. And then there were two people who got hit with the random breathalyzers.
Hmm.
Saturday morning, we're sitting there. They got hit and they got busted,
Damn.
and we're just like, and I don't know, like to me, I didn't feel like I was that bad off. It's like I made a big mistake. I got caught. I got punished, and I was like, okay, I gotta chill. I'm
Right.
looking at these other cats, and it's like they can't chill.
Right.
Like, and I guess that's the difference. Where it's like, like they have a legitimate problem. There's one guy coming there with four DUIs. You got there's one young lady and this young man who, back to back weeks, and that's the crazy thing. The girl got caught the first, not the first, but the one week, and then the very next week, the guy gets caught. It's like, yo, we just saw someone fail the breathalyzer. They're not
Yeah.
fucking
No, it's
around.
not enough. Like, and then there will be those people, and the next time they drive, they'll fucking kill somebody, you
Yeah,
know, and then they're in
and
prison.
yeah, if they kill someone, like if they hit a car and there's a child in it, there's always some old like, well, I didn't know there was a kid in that car. It's like, would you have done anything different if you did know? Like,
Yeah.
no, don't be
That's
a
something that's when
doofus.
I think back to my active days, like I mean, I could have killed so many people. I drove drunk a lot, and I drove with people in the car a lot, you know? And it's scary. And like, part of this whole journey is like finding a higher power. It's not like Jesus Christ for me or anything. It's just kind of it's just something for me, it's just something. And I just always believe that whatever this something is has always just guided me and protected the people around me from getting hurt because I was a monster, and there was just so many close calls, so many to think about. And I mean, you like sci-fi, so like I like to think of like alternative timelines sometimes too. Like my
Oh
life
yeah.
could have gone down so many different alternative timelines, and I think about like the Robin if I would have gotten arrested that one time, or the Robin if I would have OD'd this one time, or the Robin if I would have killed all my friends in a car accident, or whatever it is. There's so many different paths that our lives can take, and the fact that this has been my path, I'm like so grateful because it could have gone south so many times, and I truly think that my hand has been held, and I'm very, very, very lucky and fortunate to be one of those people because I know a lot of people that, don't make it through this, I've seen a lot of people die and go to prison for hurting somebody or whatever it is, Um, it doesn't always happen for everybody, and the fact that it worked out for me and my husband is really a miracle that I don't take for granted at all.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm glad that you take it seriously, and and you learn from it. But like you said, there's still it's still ingrained. You're still in danger, but I think that's the thing too. You're aware of it.
Yeah.
There are folks that just they think, oh, nah, I got lucky, or they make light of it. They make it a joke, and they kind of move on from it. My best friend, he stole his mom's car, and
Nice.
I'm pretty sure he was drunk. I'm certain he was drunk.
Let's hope so.
Because there's no way that he would have gone out of control the way that he did. But he hit a transformer, you know,
Oh dear.
and so we all were renting an apartment together, but we had to kick him out because the dude was reckless. But he didn't live far away, so he sold his mom's car. He was coming over to hang out, he like he knocks on the door and he's got shards of glass in his arm.
Oh no.
I was like, yo, what the fuck happened? And he explains, so we hop in the car, we go see. He's like, and, there's police, fire engines, and everything all around, and you could see where the car just folded in the way that he spun. So the transformer's on the driver's side. He
Hmm.
spun and it like crushed the passenger side. However, he ended up hitting it, and my girlfriend, not my wife at the time, she freaked out because she was like, "You're normally in the car with him,
Yeah,
and you're normally the passenger. That would have been you."
for sure.
I was like, "Huh." We're young at this time, like maybe 22. In my mind, I just was like, no, because I would have driven. I wouldn't let him drive like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I get what she's saying though. But he was the kind of individual who just he he was aware, but he didn't care.
Right.
He ended up, you know, not well off. Uh, so I mean, again, for you to be aware and just knowing, like, look, it's still there. I'm just fighting not to let it take over. Is like great.
I'm scared. I'm scared of it. My husband was playing paintball. This is probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and he would put rubbing alcohol in a Poland spring bottle to clean his paintball gun with. And I used to get up at 5:30 in the morning to, no, 4:30 in the morning to go to a 5 o'clock CrossFit class, right? So it's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm like super groggy. I get up and I take this water bottle and I fucking chug it, like half of it. And it obviously tasted weird, but I guess I was just so out of it and like morning breath or whatever. And then I get halfway through it and I'm like, wait, this isn't okay. And then I realized that I'm drinking the rubbing alcohol. It was watered down. Um, and I just started hyperventilating. I was like 3 years sober. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get drunk. I had a full blown panic attack. Like I'm terrified of being drunk, truly, because
Sure.
I know how I drink. I drink until I fall asleep. I don't have a few and have a good time. If I start drinking, I'm drinking. I'm finding more alcohol if I run out. I'm calling fucking Uber Eats. Like I'm getting in my car. I'm going to 7-Eleven. I'm getting some 40s. Like we're fucking going until I can't keep my eyes open anymore. And it's like the most dangerous way to drink. And I'm smoking 2 packs of cigarettes also in one night. It's like Robyn doesn't go halfway. Like Robyn goes 0 or 100. And it's scary. It's scary to be around me. And I'm not like an angry drunk. I'm a fun drunk. And then after a certain point in my life, I became an emotional drunk, and that's the fucking worst person to hang out with. Like,
Yeah, that's me.
yeah, like I'm
Like,
like the
why is he
girl
balled up
crying in the
crying?
bush outside. Like, what are you doing? That's
Yeah,
that's me. And then I wake up and I'm embarrassed and I'm ashamed and I have this like whole shame spiral. I'm a piece of shit. Nobody wants to hang out with me and that makes me want to drink more. So it was like this constant spiral of like, and then I'd be like dry for a week or two because I'd be so embarrassed, right? And then I'd hit a wall and I'd say, all right, I can go out again. Let me, you know what I'll do? I'll set my alarm at midnight. That's the time I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home at midnight, right? And then the alarm would go off and I'd be like, oh, fuck that alarm. And and I'd like put it like maybe 1 o'clock and I'd reset it to 1 o'clock. And then like all of a sudden it's like last call. And I'm like, all right, whose house are we going to? What other bar is open? And, it's, there's no doubt that I had a fucking problem from the beginning.
sure. Um, during that time, what scared you more? The ideal of continuing as you were, or the ideal of stopping? Like, as you're kind of getting to that realization.
I think what factored in was the fact that I was so young And I think a lot of it was FOMO. I also had my son when I was 19. So I was in this like weird sort of like postpartum depression. I couldn't fit in with any of the moms at school because they were significantly older than me and married and emotionally mature. I couldn't really fit in with the people that were my age because they weren't parents yet. They were still either in college or they were just, living their lives. They didn't have anything holding them down. So, like, I really felt lost and alone during that time when my son was very young. I got sober when he was 5. And in a way, I had this thing where like I would only drink once he went to bed. Like that was like my rule. I would only drink once he went to bed and he would never see me drunk, whatever. Um, and I had roommates. So like if one of the roommates was home, I'd be like, hey, as long as someone was home while he was sleeping, I thought it was cool if I just bounced. And
Mm.
no, this is like the mind of a 22-year-old, like we don't fucking think properly, right? So I like desperately wanted to be a part of, I didn't want to lose any of my friends because I had this young kid at home. His father left when I was pregnant, so like I didn't have a support group. It was just me. Um and I think the fear for me was probably not drinking because I felt like that was the only thing keeping me tethered to the people that I thought were my friends
Sure.
and to the life that I thought that I wanted at the time. Because when I was, out at the bar, I was having fun. And then when I was home alone and during the day and I was um hungover or whatever, I was just sad. I was depressed, like a really deep postpartum depression. And my son's autistic, as you know. So like I was dealing with that too. I was dealing with like being a young woman, being a first time mom, being a fucking addict and alcoholic, and then trying to navigate like having a special needs child without a father present. So like there was a lot going on. And there was a lot of, that the using and the drinking was like my only escape, I felt like at the time. So like, yeah, getting rid of the only vice that I knew was terrifying for me. So, but then I realized, after almost having him taken away from me, I realized how much I truly loved him because before it was kind of like, yeah, I loved him, but he was also like kind of getting in the way in my mind. I was still such a young kid and I was so jealous of my friends that they could do whatever they wanted. And I was always trying to find babysitters so I can go and do the things, right? And then when he was almost taken from me, it was just this like huge reality check. Like, no, this is actually the life that I want. I want to be a good mother to my son. And what I'm doing is I'm a fucking loser, Like, what the fuck am I doing? And I needed that, I needed the threat of losing him to realize what truly mattered. And that's, us, family. So,
Sure. Yeah, that's I can't imagine. You know, just all the circumstances there. Because, like you said, at 22, we're dumb. We make
we're
these
so
goofy
dumb.
decisions.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even think back to when I was 22. It's like what was I doing at 22? I don't even know. But I can promise you it was not productive. I
Right.
mean, so I was like, I look at my goddaughter and I think she just turned 23 and she's well put together. She's like has a family, has a job, married. I'm like, oh my god, when I was 22, that wasn't even on the radar of something I was going to
Right.
do. So like, seeing young folks now, making better decisions. I still think 22-year-olds are dumb, but they're
Well, they're
not as
not
dumb as
developed
we were.
yet. It's not
Yeah,
their fault.
yeah.
There's,
Like I think 22 now versus 22, like, you know, 10, 15 years ago seems a little like, I mean, they still make, weird decisions, but I also think too, there's a better awareness. So, but
well, our generation is raising them and we're a little bit more aware than the generation before. So,
that's true. Very true. I mean, I think, yeah, when I was 22. No, 21. I was living at home, but I also moved out. So, like, I had a room somewhere, but I also still had my room at home. So my family was still making me dinner
Nice.
and putting it in the refrigerator for me, thinking, oh, he'll be home later for dinner. And after like weeks of not showing up, they're like, I just, maybe don't make dinner for him anymore. And there was a time where I got a flat tire. This was before cell phones and everything, or at least like cell phones where everyone had one at least.
Hmm.
I remember like getting a flat tire and no one knew where I was. My roommates thought I probably went back home. My grandparents thought, hey, he's probably, at his other place. I'm like out on Route 32
You're just
hitchhiking.
stranded. Yeah.
Just like, and I found a cop was like, hey, can I get some help? He's like, yeah, let me finish, booking this guy and I'll, help. But 22 was a wild time, 21, wild time. So early on, in your sobriety, what was the hardest part of like, those early days, those early weeks of sobriety for you?
Um, I think just I isolated the probably first 6 months. I um I think it might be easier if I explain the rock bottom situation. So my now husband and I were together about a year before we were drinking for a year, right? Met him at a bar, the classic love story. And I had a family reunion um, in Connecticut, and I decided to bring him. And I'm on Long Island, so to get to Connecticut, we take a ferry. We were drinking on the ferry. Like, we started at like 10 a.m. Like, this was like a little vacation. My dad got us a hotel room at the Marriott. Like, we were on vacation, right? Um, he was drinking more than me because I decided to be like a little bit more present and put together for my family. So by the time we get back to my hotel room, he's pretty much plastered, and my son is with us. And my husband is 6'4". He's 250 pounds. He's a big boy. Takes a lot for him to black out. At one point, he was blacked out, right? And when he blacks out, there's a shift, and it's scary. And I was like, I was getting drunk, but I wasn't there yet. I think I was probably instinctually knowing that something bad was going to happen. So I was like, dude, you gotta I'm in the hotel room, right, with my son. I was like, you either need to leave or, maybe you can come back when he's sleeping because, like, this is kind of scary. But he was at a point where he couldn't hear me anymore, right? He couldn't speak anymore. Like, the words just weren't coming out. And he, like, threw a lamp in the hotel room and caused a ruckus. And then somebody called, whoever our neighbors were called in. Police came, arrested him, took a statement from me. Connecticut does not fuck around with like domestic violence shit. So an automatic restraining order was put on between us. So we couldn't communicate. And I was so scared, not of him, but like of getting in trouble, um, that I like didn't leave my house for like the first 6 months. I didn't talk to anybody. I went to work and I came home. And I was so ashamed and scared. And CPS was coming in and checking on me regularly to make sure that like me and the kid were okay, whatever. Um, and my husband had started to go to AA like the day after he was in an AA meeting. He woke up from a blackout in a jail cell, not knowing how he got there. No recollection of the night before. So he was terrified, obviously, like I can only imagine. Um, and he thought that I was out of his life forever. He's like, I've ruined this. And he went to AA. And then when we finally could see each other, he's thinking he's going to come over and like get his stuff and that's it. And I'd been isolating. I hadn't been seeing or talking to anybody in so long. I was so fucking happy to see him. And he looked amazing. Like he looked incredible. And that was it. Like he told me he was going to AA and I was so happy for him. And, you know, we got back together and my son was so happy to see him. It was like this such a relief, you know, after like such a horrifying night. And he was like, you know, why don't you come to a meeting with me, you know? And I did. And so we call it dry drunk when you don't drink, but you're not like doing any sort of program. You're dry, right? Um, so that's when I saw how well he was doing and how, you know, how he was dealing. I wasn't dealing at all. I was actually like probably on the verge of drinking again. And then he got me into a meeting, and then finally I started, you know, working the program and completely changed my friend group. And yeah, that's when everything kind of shifted. But yeah, to your question, in the beginning, I was just scared to fucking leave the house, you know? And yeah, just kind of trauma response, I think.
Understandable. Um, the first meeting that you went to, what was that like? Like,
Scary.
like, like
I just sat in the back. I didn't raise my hand. I didn't share. I didn't, say anything. I was just kind of observing. Um, but it's called a qualification meeting. So, different meetings have different formats. Some meetings you read out of the big book, which is the Alcoholics Anonymous book.
mhm,
Some meetings are step meetings, so there's a 12-step book as well. Um, some meetings, one person speaks, like they just tell their story for like 15 to 20 minutes, and then everybody else kind of shares. So my first meeting was a qualification meeting, which means that somebody shared their story for 20 minutes. And the woman that shared her story, I could relate to everything that she said. Everything. The way she thought, the way she drank, how her childhood was, how she felt, everything. Everything. And I honestly didn't think that I was an alcoholic until I heard her speak. I thought that I was going to support my husband to see what that was all about, right? And then I walk out of the meeting and he's like, "So what do you think?" And I just started bawling because I just felt like this weight was lifted off my chest, and I was like, I think I'm an alcoholic." And he was like, "Yeah, no shit." Like and that was it. And then I was in, and I started regularly going, and I got a sponsor, and I did the steps, and the whole thing. So
uh, when you were in the meetings, like you said, the first one you just sat there quiet. When
yeah,
did you start like talking and sharing? Because I went for a while and just sat
yeah,
quiet. I didn't even go up and like get. I got my 24-hour chip, and I
hmm,
didn't go. I never went up to get any other chips because I felt like I felt like a fraud.
yeah,
Even though I was doing the things, I felt like I don't deserve that. I don't deserve
mm,
my 1 month chip. I don't deserve, my 6 month chip. So I just always sat there. They would call on me, and I would politely say, I'd rather not, and they were cool about it. But
yeah.
like, when did you start like opening up and sharing in your meetings?
I think pretty soon. I think I had a lot to get off my chest, and it felt really good to do that. I have a hard time still like raising my hand. If it's called a round robin, so it'll come to you eventually. I'll never skip. Like I'll never be like, "Oh, I'm not going to share today." Like I'll say a couple things, whatever, but I never actually like raise my hand to be called on to say something still. Like I still kind of have what you have, like, "Oh, nobody really cares what I have to say." Um I still have that feeling, but I think in the beginning I was pretty desperate to like feel better, and I saw we have a saying called attraction not promotion, right? So I saw what it was doing to my husband, and I wanted that happiness and I wanted that joy that he was feeling. So that was kind of my motivation to like really lay the groundwork down and like, you know, do the right thing. And, you can't receive help if you don't speak. It's really hard to get the help that you need if you're not asking for it. And I really needed help and I was ready. I was ready and willing to ask for it. So,
Oh, good, good. Yeah, it's hard for anyone to, like you said, if you don't speak, you can't get help. It's hard for anyone to know what you need.
yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't think about that during my meetings. Still I wasn't young actually. I was actually older. Now that I think about it, I think I was 32. Um, but I still had like this immaturity. It was like,
Hmm.
uh, number one, no one cares. And number two is like, you know, I don't want to take from someone else's time.
Yeah.
These things, because it's like, because in my mind, like hearing their stories, like you really need this. Like I didn't think that I needed it because by that point I was like, I'm done drinking. I don't need to be here.
Right.
Court ordered to be there, so I was like, I have to be here for that. But as I'm hearing their stories, I was like, you really, really need this. You need our support. I was like, I'm just here to support. In my mind, I was like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I'll drink your coffee with you. I'll hang out. I think there was one instance where I needed a meeting and I showed up to a women's only meeting.
Oh boy.
I didn't know it was women's only.
I've done that with men's meetings. Yep.
And they let me stay, and that
Hmm.
said something to me.
Yeah.
That spoke volumes to me because it was like I understood why it was women's only after the fact, but like they didn't look at it like this is an all the time thing. It was clearly an accident. You need this. We're here.
Yeah.
So we're here to support, and that really
That's nice.
made me really respect it so much more. And just understand, like these folks are here to help. They do care. And through the tragedy that may have gotten us there, folks were able to come together and help. So
Yeah. I've never met more loyal friends than I have in AA. I
yeah,
mean, these people will do anything for you. It's fucking incredible. And I think that's like kind of like jujitsu too. Like, um, you're kind of family automatically, and there's people you can take or leave in either group, right? But in the end, you're together for a reason, for like a mutual trying to be better at something, right?
hmm
And you have that community always in your back pocket, which is great. It's just with sobriety, um, there's just this certain level of care and understanding and empathy that you don't get in other places that I've found, and there's like this deep understanding of each other. And also like jujitsu, like you just completely different people that would normally not mix, right?
yeah,
And I'm in the Hamptons, so like if you look at the cars outside of an AA meeting here, like you'll have a Lamborghini, you'll have a hoopty, you'll have a bike, you'll have a lawnmower. Like, yeah. And I'm not exaggerating. There's a guy that comes on a lawnmower. Like, it's fucking cool. And we're all here to help each other. And we have like these big, they're called fellowship parties. When you get together outside of a meeting, we call it fellowship. and somebody will throw a big party at their house and we're all there and we're laughing and we're having fun, and you don't need. That was another thing in the beginning. Like my first fellowship was a Super Bowl party, and I was like, how the fuck is this going to be fun? You know, like, what are we going to do? The most fun I've ever had, ever. I mean, belly laughing for the first time in years at this party. Um, and it just showed me like the crutches that I needed to feel like being a part of, or having a good time, or not being in my own head in a group of people. You know, I was able to let go of all of that because of how, you know, beautiful and humble and welcoming that these people are, and not judgmental. That's a big one too. You know, we don't judge each other.
Sure, sure.
Just
I,
major.
I think with, you know, that group, like there's a thing to that where you say like there's no judgment. I mean, you know, everyone's been through something.
Yeah.
So, and it got them here. So who am I to judge anyone? Who are you to judge anyone? Is like just go there and have a good time.
Hmm.
You don't have to be nasty about it. You know, like, I don't know. It's just there's a thing I saw recently on social media, and it was talking about food, and alcohol came up as well. But it's talk about how we center everything around eating.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, you know, we haven't seen each other in a while. Let's go out to get lunch. You know, and then, you know, that also translates to like, hey, you know, you want to go grab a beer. I have a buddy who I haven't spoken to in years, and he just messaged me on New Year's. You know, like, hey, happy New Year. Like, let's get together. And I remember him saying a few years back, last time I spoke with him, that he was sober.
Mm.
And at that time, for me, especially because like I think I was like kind of falling back in, and it was like, you know, you want to go grab a beer or something? And I was like, no, I don't drink anymore. And you know, looking back on it, I was like, it's weird that we do that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, let's go drink and like, you know, catch up. Or, you know, like sometimes it's okay, like to go to a park. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Let's go for a walk.
yeah, it's like basic stuff. I just went to a comic book shop with a friend last Sunday.
Love that.
Haven't seen her like what in 2 years. I was like, oh, you know, let's you know go to the comic shop. I brought my daughter. She trounced around, and I'd spent a bunch of money because she could. I was like,
Nice.
hey, Dad, I want this. I was like, so do I. Let's get it.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like you said, that there's so much care and trust there within the um in the fellowships. It sounds like um it sounds like a good time, and I always think about that too. Whenever I have friends who are like, "Yeah, we're having a Super Bowl party," and it's like, you know, cases of beer show up and everything. It's like, you know, I think after I had started kind of slowly reintroducing alcohol to myself, it was kind of this game of making a point
Hmm.
that I could drink a beer and stop at one beer.
Yeah. If you have to think about it like that, you're probably
Yeah,
an alcoholic. Just saying.
well,
If you have to
like
plan, you know, like normal people don't say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to have one or two. And if I stop, then I don't have a problem. Normal people don't say that.
no,
We say that.
yeah. Well, like I look at my uncle, my uncle who, like all my other uncles were alcoholics. They
Hmm.
were bad alcoholics, and the youngest one, I've seen him drink twice in my life, and it's like he'll have like a wine cooler, and you're like, you know, like I
Right.
think that's
Or they'll
enough.
drink like
This,
half of it.
yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. And I remember seeing it because this was like I might have been 24 at the time. I was like, see, but I'm around my uncle, so I don't want to drink. You know, because like I don't. Always had this weird thing around my family where because I knew like everyone's an alcoholic, so I never wanted to drink around them.
Mhm.
to give him that worry that, oh no, he's falling into the family business as well.
Right.
Um,
I did
and
that too.
I went out to dinner for our birthday one year. My grandfather's like, it's okay to have a beer. So I ordered a beer, and this is young Dante. Young Dante doesn't know how to just sip a beer.
Mhm.
So I chugged it,
Nice.
not thinking that that was a problem. I was just like, all right, cool. Now in my head, I was like, man, I really want to order another.
Right.
But let's go ahead and just eat these ribs and get the fuck out of here, and then go home and like party with my friends. I was
Right.
like, oh my god, I had a beer with my grandfather. Like, let's do some cake stands now. Um, but it's always this thing though too. It's like I said, people want to orchestrate everything around drinking.
Yeah.
Um, and like I always kind of related to the idea of like growing up, like whenever I go to a friend's house, like, hey, you want a cup of coffee? I was like, I mean, that's really grown up of you. I'm used to saying, hey, you want a beer?
Now
But
we
we've
say
normalized
seltzer.
it.
You want a
Yeah.
seltzer?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
We're seltzer
It's
people.
like we've normalized alcohol so much in our society to a point where it's like that shit just seems normal though. It's like, just come on over and have a beer. Like, it's like that's not normal. That shouldn't be normal, right?
No,
Like,
totally. I used to do the same thing as you. Like I used to, at like Thanksgiving and Christmas, I used to really watch I would keep up appearances. Like part of the 12-step program is making amends, right? And part of my amends was my parents and my father. I mean, I tried to apologize to my father and let him know, like, this was not okay for me to do. And he goes, "You're not an alcoholic." And I was like, "Dad, I don't need to explain to you all the things, but I am." And I was just really good at hiding it from you. And then I was like, "You remember all those times that I called you when I needed my electric bill paid, and that I had a baby when I was 19, and all these like really stupid decisions that I would make?" And you'd be like, "Yeah, well, you were just young." And I was like, "That's a really dangerous thing to say to somebody who's trying to get sober, who's young,
yeah,
because there's always a part of me that's like, maybe I could do it again. I'm 35 now.
yeah,
Maybe I could have a glass of wine with dinner. Maybe I'm mature enough to like set it down." And then I have to remember that alarm that I set at the bar that I kept hitting snooze because I physically can't put a drink down once I've had one. Um, but yeah, like the keeping up appearances, and social media is a big thing. Facebook is a big thing, like taking pictures of me and my son at the playground and like, just making it look like a picture perfect. I'm such a great mom. And like, you never know what someone is going through or what's actually going on because we're really good manipulators,
yeah.
master manipulators. That's a unfortunate superpower that we have, until we get to a certain point, especially if you're, narcotics and shit. There's only so much you can hide when you get to a certain point, and then, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. I had a friend when we were teenagers. He was going to NA, and he had come back from one of the meetings, and he said, like, for him, especially as a kid, he's like, it's not helping me.
Yeah.
All it's doing is teaching me how to become a better drug user.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know who, was leading the meetings, but it sounded like, he was just encounter a bunch of other teenagers who were court ordered to be there
Hmm.
or forced there by their parents. And, they just get together afterward and come up with other ways, like how not to get caught.
Nice.
So,
Good use
and,
of your time.
it's like looking back on that. I just mentioned this to my grandma the other day because we were talking about anger management, and I brought that story up about my buddy who's our neighbor, and I was like, I mean, I think part of the thing too is like you have to know that you need the help and you have to want to have the help.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to be willing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a journey for sure though. Um, how do you define sobriety like today, like in life now for you?
Mm. It's so many things. It's so many like factors and tools in the toolbox, right? Um, I just I try to take everything that I've learned. I try to so steps 10, 11, and 12 are the maintenance steps, right? Like steps
Mhm.
1 through 9 are the work, working on yourself, making amends, figuring out where you went wrong, why you did it, um, and moving past and forgiving yourself. And then 10, 11, and 12, step 10 is you every single day you reflect on your day and you think, what could I have done better? Did I mistreat anybody? Did I mistreat myself? How can I do better tomorrow? That's step 10. That's something everybody should do.
Yeah.
Step 11 is connecting to something greater than yourself. Doesn't matter what it is. Like this program doesn't teach you about religion, it teaches you to just believe that something is there for you when you need it, because we can't rely on anybody to fix us, right? And it teaches us that whatever that thing is inside of you at all times and you can access it at all times. So, and meditation is a big thing, learning how to meditate and learning how to connect to something that always has your back. That's not a physical person. And then the last step is helping other people get sober, being of service, not thinking about yourself, putting other people first before your own needs. So these are like fundamental things that I truly believe that everybody should do, whether that you're have addictions or not. It's just a beautiful way to live.
Mhm.
And so for me, sobriety is mostly being of service to others, not being stuck in selfish thinking and selfish actions, and um, just remembering that I am not the center of the universe. It really makes everything come together in a beautiful way. So once I start thinking, oh, so and so did this to me, that's like a selfish thought, right? Like that's an
Mhm.
expectation. I expect you to treat me a certain way because I treat you this way. So I'm going to get angry and I'm going to get resentful and I'm going to sit with this negative shit in my chest while you just go off and you don't even care. So why would I sit with that shit in my chest when you don't care? You know what I mean? So a lot of it's like just letting go of like the little bullshit that doesn't matter, right? Keeping your side of the street clean and just making sure that you're always available to help other people when they need help.
And there you have it. I mean, as you're saying, it's like, I mean, this is it sounds like just how people should be in general.
It's basic shit. And a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand it. A lot of people live their life in like this really selfish headspace. And, I see it in a lot of people. Like resentments are joy killers, when you expectations, right? And it could just be the expectation that the other person is going to be a good person. It's actually your fault for expecting that, which kind of sucks. But if you think about, let's just, for an example, like a what would Jesus do situation. I always like to try to personify my higher power, who's not Jesus, but we'll put Jesus face on it because it makes sense.
Sure.
Um, if like a higher being were to come into your life and like just hang out with you for a day, right? How would they act? How would they interact with people? Would they fucking judge somebody? Would they care if somebody bumped into them on the street? Would they, they would let everything go. They would let everything slide because it doesn't matter. None of it matters. So like when I get into like these sobriety is, it ebbs and flows, right? I go back into like a selfish thinking pattern, and I have to remember like this is not how a higher being would act. Not that I'm trying to be,
Sure.
I'm not trying to sound like I'm trying to be a higher being, whatever.
Yes.
But like, you always want to like just try to live on like a certain plane where like we're all just fucking floating in a rock in outer space, man, you know? And it's like none of this shit matters. Let's just, it's so and so owes me $5 because of this and this, or, so and so said something passive aggressive to me, and it's really digging in my brain, and it's really like getting into that self-conscious part of me that I can't seem to let go. And it's like, these things really, really weigh you down, and they affect you in a way that's like really detrimental, you know?
Sure. Um, I ain't got nothing from there. I was like, damn. Like, I thought I had something. I was like, I don't know. I think you just kind of dropped the mic on us there.
Yeah, like I said, it's basic shit. It's really, and
Yeah.
a lot of people will go a really long time and not get it. I hope
Yeah.
I help somebody with this because it's kind of a game changer,
Yeah.
when you let go of all the little bullshit and just, you know,
Yeah. I like to think that, someone can gain from this. I mean, I've gained a bit from it myself. So, I mean, if
good.
anything, one person, that's me,
Good.
gained. I'd like to think more, but, I got something from it. And, thank you for, just sharing and opening up, because I don't, I don't know that, like, I always feel weird about subjects like this, because it's like, does a person feel comfortable talking about it? I don't want, it's like, what's your comfort level of speaking? So for you to open up and share, and through social media, you post a lot of content that's very funny, but also, eye opening when it comes to jujitsu and everything. And then when you put up the post showing pictures uh pre-sobriety, and
Hmm.
then showing now, it's like, that's, I think that's a big deal. And I'd like to think that someone caught that and it helped. So
No, it
thank you.
did. There are people that messaged me, and that's
Good.
why, I didn't do it for attention. I did it to hopefully help somebody else, you
Yeah.
know?
I think that's always a weird thing too, when if someone does something, and it can help someone else, you'll get people like, oh, it's for attention, they just want attention. It's like, no, I
That's
mean,
fine. They could think that.
someone can gain from that. That's true. That's true. They can. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I like to look at it like, look, I mean, people can gain, someone can get the strength. Just seems like, oh, wait, you went through this and now you're here.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the push that they needed
That's
to,
why it says sober in my profile. The second you go to my profile and it says
yeah,
sober, that's still like that's a little light bulb for somebody, or
yeah,
maybe I've had people just DM me like, "Hey, I saw that you're sober. I'm trying to get sober." Or someone will say, "Hey, I won't name names, but there's people that have like sent me merch because they're like, "Hey, I'm sober too. Like, let me send you something." Like, it's cool, you know?
yeah,
We've got like a really cool close-knit community, and like I said, I don't even have to know anybody. If they say they're sober, I'm like, "You're my homie now," you know?
yeah. I think, you know, sobriety, shares those parallels with jujitsu. Like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot to both communities that really connects. So
Yeah,
good,
for
good.
sure.
Look, I don't have a rapid fire for this episode. I always have one. I was like, I don't think I can really come up with a rapid fire for this one
No
right
worries.
now.
It's okay.
But I will ask one last question before we wrap up here.
Sure.
Um, for anyone who's listening and they have questions about the relationship with alcohol, what would you want them to hear or understand um, about, like, approaching sobriety?
I mean, you can always message me If you have any questions, feel free. I'm here to be of service. Um, I would say if you're questioning it, then you probably need help. People that don't question it, um, that's kind of like the first thing. You'll know instinctively. And if you're afraid to follow through or walk into that first meeting, just know that everybody else was too. Just like walking onto the mats for the first time. You just gotta do what's best for you. And if you want a better life, I highly suggest you do so.
Absolutely. Thank you. Um, so before we get out of here, do you have any shout outs or mentions you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Oh, I already did all the jujitsu ones. And this is an anonymous program, so I
Well, yeah, you can't just shout them out. No, no,
can't
no.
really shout them out.
No.
I'll say the founder, Bill Wilson, the OG, and my husband for getting me into the rooms, and everybody that's been with me through this whole journey and helped me. I obviously can't say who you are, but you know who you are, and I'm grateful for you.
Awesome. Awesome. And thank you, Robyn, for again sharing with us.
Thanks, Dante.
And as always, to you, all the listeners, if you have any questions, concerns, criticisms, anything, feel free to reach out. You can find me at bjj.wiki on Instagram and also on Off the Mats podcast on Instagram. I'd like to give a shout out to my crew over there at Nerd Rage Radio. I'm not going to go through the names. I actually just recorded last night and went through the names again. I need to just actually have a list with the names because I think I made up some names. I don't even think the names I made up 4 names that probably aren't even part of the Nerd Rage Radio crew. But thank you to those guys. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be doing a podcast. So thank you, Nerd Rage Radio. Also want to shout out my other podcast. So you like horror. If you like scary movies, go check it out. We've gotten into 2026 and we are now working on our theme of horror TV shows. We'll be starting off with Haunting of Hill House, going into February with Are You Afraid of the Dark? I think in March, we're going to talk about Midnight Mass. April, Twilight Zone. May, Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Because, you got to have, that gateway horror for the kiddos. So talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark and Scooby Doo, my kid, she'll probably be the guest for those 2 episodes because she's got a lot to say. But go check that out over on Instagram. You can find us at So You Like Horror, all the words separated by underscores. And if you're looking for the podcast or wherever you're listening to this, it's probably there. So go ahead and check it out. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our guest here, Ms. Robyn Henderson. Thank you very much. And again, to you all the listeners, thank you. We love you guys. And you know what it is. You all keep listening, and we're going to definitely keep making these shows. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.